That's okay.
Oh, hold on.
Well, I can hear me enough. Don't mess with it. If you can hear me, everybody can hear me. I don't need to hear me. I can just, hear myself in my head. And
Fair
it'll be
enough.
fine.
Well, welcome to Hip and Humble. I'm Aram,
And I'm Mom.
and we talk about all things antique and collectibles. And we are supported by Hip and Humble Antiques, LLC. We've got 2 locations, one just outside of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, in Bethany, Oklahoma, at the Rink Gallery, and another one in downtown Fredericksburg, Virginia, at a place called Oldies But Goodies. We are also supported by the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. It's a national online radio network. They play us twice a week, and we are happy to be a part of them. And today we are welcoming back a very special guest, Dr. Rick Chromey.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you back. I had to bring the star of the show back this time, so you could have a better conversation.
Where was I last?
Well, you were in Alaska.
I was in Alaska.
You were in Alaska last time.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the same show.
Not quite.
Going back to Alaska next month. So.
Yeah. She's got the plans in there. The what do you call the paper you put on the fabric?
The paper you put on fabric?
The paper you put on the fabric. The designs for a parka that she's making.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not making that right now. Actually, I've got stuff to make snow skirts. So I'm going to make my mom, because I'm taking my mother and my husband with me this time. And, of course, my mother's cold all the time. So I went and got the fabric the other day to make snow skirts. So it's kind of like a jacket, but it's a skirt.
Yeah.
I would just make pants and forget the
Well,
skirt.
you have your pants on, and then you put that over for the wind. So when the wind's blowing, kind of blocks extra layer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've learned in Alaska you can't have too many layers.
Yeah.
Layers are good.
So, Dr. Rick, how has your book been doing since we last spoke?
Oh, well, I tell you what, I've sold quite a few since we've talked. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. Yeah. So his book, I told her a little bit about it before. It's called GenTech. He talks about the different generations being defined by the technology that came out in those generations versus the specific nomenclature that's kind of prescribed by marketing and different media sources today. I
think I'm part of the Atari generation.
Well, I do have. Yeah, it's called the gamer generation. So, do you mind telling us what year you were born?
1970.
Okay, yeah. Actually, you're part of the gamer generation and the cable television generation, and even the space generation.
Yep. And we did not get cable at my parents' house until after I was married. Yeah. So I was already married because my dad was not going to pay people for TV when he got the 3 channels in PBS. So, but then after he figured out, hey, this cable thing has sports, then it became important. So they got cable.
Well, most people don't know cable television actually was for the rural people. It was initially was in Pennsylvania, Oregon, I think down in the South someplace, and it was to totally take television to these rural locations that they were out of reach of the antennas.
Yeah, so, the first time I saw one of the big satellite dishes, the big one, satellite thingies, was my husband's family is from the Panhandle of Oklahoma, so they farmed and ranched. So his aunt's ranch or farm at the time was probably 30 minutes outside of Guymon, Oklahoma. You couldn't find it on the map.
Guymon is about 6 hours from the nearest highway.
So, but it's middle of nowhere. But anyway, that was exactly it. They couldn't get television any other way but by that big old satellite dish.
Right. But you're right. When ESPN came along in '79 and CNN in 1980 and MTV in 1981, everything changed.
Yep.
Thriller. It was a thriller back then.
I did watch that. Not at my house. I was at a girlfriend's house and watched the Thriller when it first came out.
Oh, naughty. You weren't supposed to, were you?
I don't know. I didn't.
That was actually on network television.
That
was network television.
Huh.
I didn't ask.
Thriller.
Fair enough. Yeah, better ask forgiveness and permission any day.
But that was back when MTV did music.
Yeah,
it was actual music television. And there wasn't a lot of, they did not, Michael Jackson was the one that broke the color barrier. And because of his popularity with the Thriller album, MTV wasn't playing black artists until Michael Jackson.
Right.
They were playing white artists, and in particular, they focused on new wave that was coming out of England, because in America we really didn't have a lot of music videos from American artists. All we had was concert videos and American Bandstand type of stuff, and so the concept video was coming out of England, Great Britain.
I think Queen had a few videos that concept videos, I guess, that came out.
ABBA, remember ABBA had a few.
Yeah, had a few there.
But those
I know
wave
some
bands.
music.
Well, we like to make fun, or not make fun, but my dad, he is quite the connoisseur when it comes to music. He can tell you, which bands are together, when they broke up, the years of their albums.
He also grew up in Guyman, so there wasn't a lot to do.
This is true.
Out on a tractor.
He was.
Till they got the satellite.
Yeah, till they got the satellite. Well, even then, there was only so much. No.
Yeah.
But so I was born. I was born in 1992. What would my generation be?
Okay, those born between 80 and 90 are part of the cell phone, personal computer generation, and then 1990 to 2010, that's the net generation, internet. So those are your two.
Okay.
We actually have 3 technologies. Aren't you lucky?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. We've talked about it a couple of times.
I remember also when the first microwave came out, when we first got our first microwave.
That was big.
That was big.
I remember reading stories about people that were very hesitant to bring a microwave in the house.
Oh,
there was a lot of controversy over it, whether it was safe or
well, because that's when they'd say, "Oh, we're going to nuke the food." Well, we also grew up with Russia and nukes.
Yeah,
it was kind of a fear. So
yeah, my brother used to put my head in the microwave, and
oh, is that what? No.
That's how I got the name the Chrome Dome.
Oh, okay. I guess Rick Chromey didn't really help that as much.
Rick Chrome Dome, that's right.
All right. Well, I see some guys look good without hair, and some guys do not. I do not. I've had a shaved head. I look like
right now he's sporting the mom hair.
Yeah, so. She's trying to get me to cut my hair, so she's trying to cut it down.
He walked in the house one day, and I had my hair in a headband, and he did too, and I was like, that's just wrong.
Like, you're starting to look like John Lennon to me, so
I appreciate that. Yeah, I got that when I first started growing my hair out. I passed a certification earlier this year that allowed me to get a promotion, so I'm happy about that. And right after I did that, went out with my wife, and my hair was just starting to grow out, and I had these glasses on, and some guy was sitting outside, and he said, "You look just like John Lennon." I was like, "Well, I'll take that. I'll take that."
Well, Aram has here that you were born in Montana, so you're from Montana?
Yeah, native.
Okay,
Lewistown, Central Montana.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, we were stationed there at Great Falls at Maelstrom.
Oh, yeah. Maelstrom Air Force Base. I was just in Great Falls a couple weeks ago.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. That's up there. Charlie Russell paintings. I'm a big Charlie Russell painting fan.
Yeah. Well, my aunt and uncle, one of my aunt and uncles, they lived in Billings for 25, 30 years, if not longer. So they were both school teachers there.
Right. Yeah, and I loved it. And I was born there. Yeah. Of course, I don't remember it too much, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah. Well, when you're born in Montana, the first thing the doctor does is he turns you over and checks the plumbing to see whether or not you're male or female. Yeah. And then he decides whether or not you're going to be a grizz or a cat. Depending on the college you go to. And then he looks at you and says, are you going to be a Yellowstone baby or are you going to be a Glacier Park baby? Okay. And then he looks at you and says, what major city are you going to travel to the most? You're either going to be Missoula or you're going to be Bozeman, you're going to be Billings or Great Falls. So I was a Great Falls grizz male Glacier. Oh, Yellowstone. Yeah.
Oh, Yellowstone. Yeah, I think I'd be partial to Yellowstone, but I don't know. I haven't been to either, and that Yellowstone is something I've been meaning to go to.
I don't know. I like the glaciers. So.
Yeah. You didn't have a choice. You just went wherever your parents took you. But
yeah, pretty much.
I've been to Yellowstone probably 24 times. It's a beautiful park. One of my favorites.
Yeah. Well, we've been all over it, many different parks. I mean, so they were fortunate. We were lucky enough to be dragged along by them to the painted forest. We went to the
Well, my
petrified
thing
forest
was
with the
being
Garden of the
military.
Gods and things like
Being
that.
military, my whole thing was that, we're only going to live in this place for a few years. So I'm just actually a long-term tourist, and I'm going to see everything I can possibly see in the time that I'm there.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
why not?
it's interesting too, coming at it from that perspective, because we go to a lot of places, even here in DC, and we meet people that they don't travel outside of their backyard. It's like some of the most prolific museums or monuments or parks or what have you are around this area, and so many people that live here have been to very
Nothing.
few, if any of them.
Yeah. And I tell you, DC, I've been there a couple times, and you really, it almost takes a week, and you still haven't scratched the surface there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's true.
I mean,
and most of the time, folks will come to DC for a week or so, and they see all the big stuff. But there's so many of these little.
Well, there's so many nuanced things. I mean, you got Ford Theater is a really big thing that's a lot, that's overlooked, I would say, a lot. They've done it up well.
Yeah, but daughters of the Revolution. Yeah.
Revolution.
DAR, Daughters of the Revolution. They have an entire museum in there, which I'm a quilter, so they have a beautiful quilt exhibits in there. But of course, that's like one of those little bitty things off to the side, and they even have a postal museum. A lot of people don't, and that is part of the Smithsonian.
Yep. Yeah, the Postal Museum is pretty fantastic. Also, seeing a lot of the different federal buildings, like the Federal Passport Office. Well, we got our passports there, so we spent a lot of time in that one.
Oh, that was a great place. That was awesome.
I've been dealing with them for the past 2 days.
You should just drive over there.
That's what I need to do. I was on the phone with them for 2 hours today, and they just hung up on me. The first time, I had a meeting at about 35 minutes after I called them, and they put me on hold, and of course they answered right when I was in the middle of my meeting, and so they hung up on me because I didn't answer because I was in the other meeting. And then I called them back, and once it got to the point where my 30 minutes of wait time was up, they just hung up. I said, okay, well, guess today's not my day. But I have sent my passport in twice now to get it renewed, and they've sent it back both times for different things that, this time they sent it back saying that the picture was wrong, and, I said.
They sent it, you'll find this funny, they sent it back because the picture was wrong, but he also did not include the payment. And he said, oh, I just thought they'd bill me.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're
talking the government here.
They don't bill you.
Yeah. Well,
they also find you.
Yeah. They also didn't include a price anywhere on the
it's
application.
On the website.
Yeah, I figured that out.
So what do you think with the different generations? How different are they? As far as interacting, do you think the technology really kind of defines how we interact with each other?
Yeah, I especially in the area of communication, how we, you see it, you still see it. The older one, I love on an airplane, for example. That's where I kind of see it play out a lot. When the plane lands, those over I don't know, 60 years of age, they're the ones that pull out the cell phone and they start talking to tell everybody that they're actually in town, and you get to listen in on their conversations. But the younger ones, they've learned to text and other ways. And, I think that, email, obviously, for the younger ones, if you're trying to communicate with younger ones, email is actually one of the worst ways to do it now. They tend to be more messenger or, even like the Snapchats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say the Snapchat is the biggest thing I've noticed, especially like Tavin's age and a lot of the younger new people I've met. Every single one of them asked me for my Snapchat and this and that. And,
I think you put that on my phone, but I never use it.
Yeah, I put it on there a long time ago. You asked me to a long time ago, but
I don't remember why, but
yeah, I forget why. But I've definitely noticed.
WhatsApp is big, especially internationally.
Oh yeah. Well,
I don't know what that one is
so
either.
WhatsApp is it's similar to Snapchat, except for it's not picture-based, it's message-based, but you don't need to give someone your phone number in order to communicate with them, so they can't call you. They can just text you, essentially. Yeah. And I think that WhatsApp and Snapchat, they have an ambiguous nature to them because messages delete after a certain period of time. And like I said, you don't actually need to give someone your phone number so they can't actually text or call you or utilize you as a resource, so to say. It's more of a surface encounter. It's more of a,
doesn't seem to be a lot of hospitality and personal.
It's not a lot of depth to it, no.
Yeah, not a lot of depth, I guess.
Yep. That's why we surf the web. There's no depth.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a theory recently about the end times. Of course, nobody knows the time or date. Nobody knows anything about it other than what's already in Revelations. But somebody
I think we're getting close.
Yeah. So there was a theory I'd heard recently that said WWW being closely correlated with the 666 because it linked back to the Hebrew symbol for 666 was the WOW or the WWW, and the World Wide Web being the possible antichrist because the Google and all the large tech companies are pushing for artificial intelligence, and when artificial intelligence comes about, it will supposedly surpass human intellect because it will be able to access all of human intellect collectively at instant speeds.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah,
I tend to look at all that stuff with a lot of humor, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm a historic theologian, so I tend to appreciate those who wrote between maybe 80 AD and 200 or 300 AD.
Okay.
Once we get into Constantine and the rise of state religion, Augustine really changed a lot.
Yeah, he did.
Things, but the writings that they call it the apostolic period there is first century, and then post apostolic is where you get a lot of interesting commentary, and no one back then had those type of views about end times. In fact, not to break anybody's bubble out there, but the word end times doesn't even appear in the Bible.
Yes,
it doesn't even appear in the Bible. It's a made-up word. It comes from Daniel 12, where Daniel actually talks about the time of the end, and it's not talking about the end of time. It's the time of the end, and so scholars speculate what that time of the end could be, and there's interpretations all the way from maybe it is the end of time, or it could be the time of the end of the old covenant, the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. I mean, there's all sorts. That's actually one of the older views that's out there. So I mean,
it's interesting.
You gotta be a little bit humble when it comes to the Book of Revelation.
Well, I had one of my Father Vince, one of our priests, made a comment, and I think it's really true. If you want to truly learn about the Bible or really anything, you read people that are as close to the source as you can.
Yeah.
So I enjoy reading things from back in that time because it is still, some of it still is relevant today. Relevant today, but I can't talk tonight. So Aram has cats.
Oh yeah.
And I'm allergic to cats, so my tongue is kind of like, are we going to swell up or not?
Yeah.
But I think that was a sign of the apocalypse right there.
Yeah, it could
pretty
be.
much. It's definitely a sign of the end, the end of something.
End of his cats, if I could have it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, I think it is important to go back and read as close to the source as what you can.
Yeah, and to speculate too on
it's like the more that people write about it, it's like the telephone game. The more that you write about a certain thing,
yeah,
it kind of loses.
The further away from the original meaning. But I like to speculate on the passage from Daniel. It made me think of the verse. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. So, in that respect, I do believe that there is an end to at least Earth and at least the heavens or the time in that regard or in that respect, at least with whatever understanding of time that we have at this time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. No, I my brother-in-law had an interesting and I think a bit closed-minded theory that he had espoused pretty recently, stating that
it's like brother-in-law.
Oh yeah, Nick.
Yeah.
No,
Took me a minute.
Yeah, he had talked about there only being the traditional Orthodox Christian Church being the only true denomination, or the only denomination that is sticking with the traditions that were passed down by the apostles and by Jesus, because it is supposedly the oldest of the Christian churches or denominations.
The Orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think denominations have I don't know, maybe come and gone or had their place, but denominations, I think, are now anyway more one guy thinks this thing, so I'm going to be called that, and the other guy goes, no, I don't like it, and I'm going to be this.
Yeah, and I mean,
and they throw a little Bible in there to.
Well, and you know,
good.
he made a good point. He said truth is divisive, and it absolutely is. And I think that there is. I mean, I absolutely believe in the way, the truth, and the life, there being the one truth. However, I believe if you say the same thing in a different way, you're still telling the truth.
Well, I'm talking more about like the boards and stuff like that. There's a lot of rules with the church, because I kind of grew up with a more legalistic type church, I guess. And I found out, of course, as I got older, a lot of those legalistic rules weren't exactly biblical.
Not quite.
So, but it was more, well, so-and-so had a nephew.
You mean you couldn't go dancing? That's not in the Bible?
No, you could not go dancing, cut your hair, earrings, makeup.
Couldn't go to a movie picture?
Nope. No. And that was one thing. My husband went to movies, but I didn't. I went to I saw Star Wars, the first one. I saw E.T., and I saw Grease. And I think that was pretty much all I saw growing up. So when I had kids.
It was 1977, and wait a minute. You said Grease.
Mm-hmm.
Grease was 76 or 77. Star Wars was 77. What was the other one? Oh, E.T. That was 80. That was 82.
Yeah.
So
that was about it.
So you were 12 when you saw E.T. then, huh?
Yeah. So after I had kids, and of course we went to church on Sunday night. So The Wonderful World of Disney came on Sunday night. I'd never seen any of those movies. I never saw any of that. So after I had the kids and we had the invention of the VCR, I was like, well, this is awesome. I get to watch Snow White. I've never seen this. And we had at one point, I think I had every Disney movie that you could think of.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. But no, we were not allowed to do a whole lot of stuff. But I will say, growing up that way, I think was a curse at the time and a blessing later, because you do learn a lot of discipline. And you learn how to really not care what other people think too much.
Yeah. I had the opposite. I basically grew up in front of the boob tube. So, my earliest memories was watching, things like My Three Sons and Gilligan's Island and, Brady Bunch. I saw Brady Bunch in the original run. So
I remember we had a television. A lot of people didn't have televisions, but we did have a television. And I remember Brady Bunch, watched that, and Gilligan's Island. And Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days.
Yeah,
those were big. Of course.
What about I Love Lucy?
No.
Mm-mm.
That was early. But see, in the late 70s, like All in the Family, when that came along.
Oh yeah.
My grandmother, she wouldn't let us watch that. That was no, I couldn't watch that one.
Oh, my dad watched it, but my dad was kind of like Archie. So.
Well, see, it was interesting too, because when I was coming up and we got cable pretty early on. I mean, we
Most of your life, I think.
Most of my life,
cable.
we had cable.
You had, I think, all your life you've had cable.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
because your dad always had cable because they lived out, in the middle of nowhere.
Well, and I would say for me, the cartoons that were coming on were a very, very different. Style, texture, feel, writing, everything than anything that had come out in the 70s or 80s. I mean, we had, like Powerpuff Girls.
Well, I think the other thing was
there was a lot
it was on all the time.
It was on. Yeah, that was the other thing.
We
it was
had
on all
Saturday
the time.
morning cartoons, and that was it.
Yeah.
And if you had
that was an event. Saturday morning was an event. You would get up at 5 o'clock at Mountain Time because that's when they came on at Mountain Time. 5 o'clock, we'd be up there watching TV, watching the cartoons. And every fall, you waited for the new cartoon list to be released to find out what the new cartoons were. It was an event.
Oh yeah.
But
it was just that little part.
Yeah.
So you guys had it like all. I mean, you can go right now and turn on cartoons.
Well, and I would say the thing for my generation, it was less the time that you watched it, more that you had watched it. It was more that you had to be in the know. If you hadn't watched something, then you weren't in the know. Then you weren't able to be a part of the conversation.
And see, kind of for me though, when I think about it, I did limit a lot of your television. And,
and I will say that to me at the time was definitely a curse, but afterwards was a blessing. I mean, I wasn't allowed to watch Dragon Ball Z. I wasn't allowed to watch Digimon or
you can list all of them,
or Pokemon or Sailor Moon, or a lot of them were the Japanese anime that were translated over into English.
But my thing is you can be out. You're a kid. Get outside. Go play. Use your imagination. Go read a book.
That was Gen X. That's how we were raised.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too. Like
go hurt yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they did.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
They knew me at the.
Except we put helmets on you millennials.
Oh no!
You had to have a helmet.
No, she tried for a little while, but we just couldn't do it. They're restricting. You can't really get the aerodynamics right if you got those things.
The Gen X, they didn't care about our heads. Just go out there and run into a wall. You'll be all right. And I actually, my theory is that the dumb ones didn't survive, and that's why Gen X is so smart.
That's true. Well, we used to have those big wheels. You remember big wheels?
Oh yeah.
And big wheels.
And our driveway sloped down. We were in a cul-de-sac, and that was like the best ever. No shoes out there, no shoes at all. Going as fast as you can. Go down that thing, fly across. Of course, you fall off. You got road rash all the way up your leg, but suck it up and do it again.
We used to jump our bikes. Remember the sissy bars and the banana seats and the big handlebars? Yeah. Used to jump those. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we first started with cinder block ramps, and then we moved up to those plastic X Factor ramps, and those were a time and a half. And there was at one point we were in Nebraska, and in Nebraska we lived on the bottom of a hill that kind of plateaued right where our house was and went down another hill. So it was a nice little slope, double slope really. And so we had the X Factor ramp. We put it right in front of our driveway and go all the way up to the top of the hill, probably about 6 or 7 houses before the top of the hill, something like that, and try to jump. And we would line up the Ryans behind the ramp and see how many we could jump over. We had 7 Ryans on that street. It was funny how we delineated them was by calling them Ryan number 1, Ryan number 2, Ryan number 3, and so on. And so
a lot of this happened with their dad when he was in town, when he wasn't deployed. And I know one time I drove up and they had got, I think my parents might have bought it for him, those little electric car thingies.
Oh yeah.
And I remember I pulled up. I had been working in the yard and I'd gone something, so I was filthy, and I got something and came back and I pulled in. Aaron went up the ramp, came down, flipped over, had this goose egg, and I just got out of the car, scooped him up, took him to the ER.
Well, see what
they knew me. They were like, "Hey, Mrs. Rice, which boy is it today?" I'm like, "That one."
Well, see what had really happened with that is my uncle came into town. So my dad's brother, my uncle Chad.
So they're showing off.
Yeah, so I really needed to show off because he always brought a skateboard. back then, and he would do skateboard tricks, and he was the very cool one. So I had to show that I could jump my bicycle, and I don't know how this happened to this day because this bike didn't have any front brakes. But this time in Nebraska, it was the first time we lived there, so I was a lot younger, and we had the driveways were cut out of the hill, so you had kind of a half pipe going into the driveway. So this time we had the cinder block ramp, so it was just a board 2x4 with a cinder block, and we would go up to the top of our yard and then shoot down the half pipe off of the cinder block ramp. Well, my uncle got there, and I decided, well, I got to jump really far because it's my uncle. So I went all the way up to the top of my neighbor's yard and then shot off their half pipe, shot off ours, and then right when I got to the bottom of that cinder block ramp, the front wheel stopped and my face went straight into the pavement. Oh! And I got a crack from the top of my head all the way down to my nose. It was there for years. There's pictures.
That was when I pulled up.
And that was right when she pulled up.
Scooped him up and took him to the ER. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Stuffed everything back in the head there.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny too because they couldn't do anything. I wasn't bleeding or anything. It was just a crack in my skin, and my forehead was about 1.5 inches from where it was before.
Oh.
Maybe I should have stuck y'all in front of the TV a little more.
It'd be different if you watched the Beatles, or not the Beatles, but the Monkees every afternoon.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. I think this one, Aram, and then my middle one, Kale. Well, I guess all three of them. They always had like the weirdest injuries.
Oh yeah.
So, and I was like, I'm back. I was like, no, I'm not abused. I asked one lady or one of the doctors once. I said, do y'all ever think I'm abusing these boys? She goes, no. I said, if you were abusing them, they'd have normal injuries. You bring them in. My middle one, he tore his eyelid.
Jumping on the bed.
Jumping off the bed.
Folks, if you're listening, don't jump on the bed. It really, really does. It really can hurt you.
Yeah.
I'm like, who tears their eyelid?
He had 3 stitches in his eyelid.
It's all fun and games until someone tears their eyelid.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, you're going to shoot your eye out, kid. That was a real thing.
No, he actually got his tooth shot out.
He did shoot his tooth out. He was older too.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was only a few years ago.
I bet family dinners were interesting.
Oh, they're a blast.
My main rule was always no weapons at the table.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I mean that included everything: Nerf guns, rocks,
airsoft guns,
no, nothing. You come to the table unarmed, only to eat.
Yeah. We couldn't. She wouldn't even let us have knives unless they were eating knives at the table.
No, yeah.
True military family. Check your guns at the door.
Yeah, that's really what it was.
Well, I'm an Oklahoman, so there you go.
Yeah. No, we got into airsoft for a little while there, and the second time we were in Nebraska because there was a little forest area inside that neighborhood, and we would deck out in the jungle UTVs, like the same print that they wore in Vietnam, because that's what they had in the Army surplus store. So we got those pants, and we'd have black, and my dad gave us the face paint. And so we'd be walking, it was about 3 blocks to the little forest area. So we'd be walking with M16s, and all this stuff. And we were like maybe 12, 14. So these little kids walking in full Army get up boots with guns, walking all the way to this forest area. And I believe we had the cops stop by us one time, and they were like, hey, and they checked. Of course, all the airsoft guns have the little orange tips, so they're not real. He's like, okay, just checking. Somebody was worried. Yeah, I don't think you could get away with that nowadays. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, definitely not in Virginia.
No.
Maybe here in Idaho you could.
Maybe.
You could, maybe. Virginia's, I don't know. Virginia's anal.
Special.
For lovers.
It is for lovers.
Yeah,
not for fighters.
That's for sure.
For lovers.
So,
is that where you live now? Is Idaho?
I live in Boise, Idaho. Yeah, little town outside of Boise called Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I was pregnant with Aram, one of my girlfriends came up and we drove over to Oregon and camped. Which, just FYI, being pregnant and camping, not a good combo. But I was surprised when I drove through Idaho because, like, people, when you tell them you're from Oklahoma, they think, everybody. And I've had people ask me if we lived in teepees growing up and had, water, running water and stuff. So, but I thought, oh, wow, a lot of potatoes. But Idaho is actually a very pretty state.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, and potatoes are definitely our main cash crop around here, but we have a lot of wineries in this area now.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the farms have gone to wine. At least part of the farm is wine. So it's, I think, a little bit more stable income.
Yes and no. So, my wife and I went out to Napa for our first anniversary, not this year, but last year, and we got to meet a gentleman who had just bought one of the wineries out there, and I mean, it's a huge initial investment, of course.
Well, most of the time, what I'm talking about are people that are normally farm a certain crop, but then the crop may not always be consistent or real profitable, so they'll have small winery on the side.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is to actually yield your first, to actually make or have your first set of wine that was actually grown at your farm takes 10 years.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So
farmers got time.
Yeah. Yeah, but most of the time they'll buy different batches of wine from other wineries and stick their label on it in order to fund the farm or the vineyard until the vineyard actually yields a crop.
Yeah. So what got you guys into antiquing?
Oh, well, I've done that all my life. I've been to auctions since I was little bitty.
Yeah, she basically is an antique.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, that will be remembered in your Christmas.
Oh,
no more Sonic for you.
Yeah, no more Sonic for me.
But now I remember going to, they call it swap meets when I was little with my granddaddy on my dad's side. And then we would go to auctions pretty much all the time. So always did antiques. One of my aunt and uncles, they always had tons of antiques around. It got from all over the world. And when my grandparents and stuff, they would travel, instead of buying a T-shirt from Germany or whatever, they would get a painting from some local artist off the street. And, those were the kind of things that we always had in our house.
Mm-hmm.
But then after we were military, furniture is expensive.
It is.
And I don't know if you know much about military movers, but they will trash it every time. So I was like, why in the world?
It's always the thing you don't want to be broken the most.
Well, it didn't even matter. But, I thought, why in the world am I going to spend, $500 on the sofa when I can go to the auction and get a sofa for $50 bucks that looks just as nice, and I don't care if they do rip it up.
Yeah.
So, most all of our stuff in the house had come from auction. Even these chairs I got at auction.
These are some of the most comfortable chairs I've ever sat in.
They're down-filled chairs. They are very comfortable. But I only paid $25 a piece. So
yeah. And for me, I grew up with her, and also, we would go to antique shops just to go, like some people go to the mall, just to walk around and see different things. Also,
and you guys were readers too.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, we would go in, and their antique shops usually always have books.
Yes.
So we go
books,
in,
and they have magazines, and they have cool pictures, and they have the little like iron things that you could go in and play with, and hats, lots and lots of hats. I
always found something. It was always generally, it's a very cheap form of entertainment. And then after my father died, some of my mom's friends had cleaned out their house or whatnot and gave everything that whoever wanted, whatever. And so they still had all this stuff. So there was the antique, well, and I use the word antique place there in Oklahoma City. It's kind of more, it's antiques, but they do a lot more wholesale. But you could rent a booth by the month. And so instead of doing a garage sale, they just put everything into the booth and sold everything off that way. And Mom said, we ought to do that because, we go to auctions and whatnot all the time, and we pass up a lot of great stuff because what am I going to do with it? So, we kind of started doing it with that. And then I got the antique booth here in Fredericksburg, and, just kind of go from there. So.
Yeah. I'd be a picker if I had another life,
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and that's half the fun of it is picking. So it is, and it's and I do stop at antique places all the time. So we went. One of my uncles died down in Houston, so my middle son and we drove down to Houston. We stopped all the way down, and all the way back, and all these different because I want to see whatever other people have and how much they charge. So and I got to say, farther south you go, the more expensive. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of the auctions are on the coast
the dealers down there. I'm like, if you can get that amount of money out of it, just good
more
on
power
you.
to you.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing for me too is because like she said, we were readers, and I took a liking to history very very early on. I have always had a thing for memorization, and so it was just something that was very interesting to me, and I liked the way that different things correlate and work together, and seeing the different things that people have used throughout our history has always been an intriguing thing to me to imagine or try to put myself in the shoes of someone in a certain period of time, and thinking with respect to the technology that they had at the time, and how limiting or freeing that might be depending on the technology, which I've always found is an interesting simile, because a lot of times with the newer technology, and we've talked about this before, specifically with cell phones and the personal pocket computer, it's a lot of it is tethering you to whatever the moment is, but it's taking you away from being in the actual place that you're at. You can't be where your feet are, so to say, because you're always connected to everyone else in the world at all times. And thinking about how different people were alone or set apart, or when they came together based on the technology and the forms of communication that they had at the time was always such an interesting concept to me. And so that's why
I will say too that they get upset when I mean him, that people like me, I don't actually have my phone with me all the time. Sometimes I leave it in a room and I go to another room and I don't have it. And I'm okay with that. But then other people, apparently that's the time they call, and I don't immediately respond.
Yeah. Well, the thing about antiquing, for me, I enjoy antique shops, but you're right. The prices, antique dealers kind of have an idea what the price is already, at least what they think they can get for it. And so they understand the market. So there's a huge price difference. For me, I'm a yard sale, thrift type of guy too, flea markets. And so I love to find, most of the stuff I find is in the, I'm a bottom dweller.
Yeah.
And if I can buy something for a quarter, I found a book at a thrift shop here this last year, and I paid, I think, $6 for it. They knew it was an old book. It was an 1834 copy of the American Revolution. It was probably the first historical book written, history book on the American Revolution, written in the early 1800s on the history. And I think I paid $6 for it.
Yeah.
And
incredible.
And I love that.
It's well over $200 or $300.
Oh, absolutely.
I love it. Is that what you mostly collect, or books?
I collect pre-1920 history books.
Okay.
So, I noticed
that is really neat though, and I love that. I love whenever I get deals like that, and it's.
Well, it's awesome. Finding a diamond in the rough. It's finding a gem. That's the fun of it. Whenever you find something shiny or something that's valuable that most people don't realize the value in. It reminds me of the story of the gentleman. This guy had given his son a very old Nissan Skyline, or pick your poison, whatever, older older nice car, and he said, go ahead and take this to the dealer and see what they'll give you as a trade in. The dealer would only give him $1,500 for the trade in, and then he said, go to this place and see what they'll give you, and they'd only give him $1,000. And he goes, all right, go to this car club down the road and see what they'll give you, and they were offering him like $56,000, $85,000 for this old vehicle, because it was a collector's edition vehicle. It was vintage or however. So everything has value to the right people.
Right. Well, that's what I say. It's only something will sell only what the seller or the buyer wants to pay for it.
And that's what I tell people. And I always feel bad. Some people will come when I work at the shop. They'll come in and they'll want to, oh, I want to sell this, and on eBay it is X amount of dollars, and it's kind of like, well, number one, is that a new eBay listing? Is that a sold listing, or what? Number two, it's only worth what somebody else is willing to pay. And if you think that this thing is worth $50, I'm only going to pay you like $10 because, see, I got to make a profit.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and
they don't understand a lot of times that eBay is not exactly the place to go to check out prices.
Well, most people that are selling things, specifically antiques, they're not, and very rarely are you going to get someone who is selling something that they really love, and it's so super near and dear to them.
Sometimes you do. I had a lady, 93, 94-year-old lady, and she had called the shop and she collected dolls. Now, I don't like dolls, never have liked dolls. I think they're creepy. But she has collected dolls ever since she was a young girl and wanted me to come over, see if I wanted to buy these dolls. And I've never seen that many dolls in one place in my entire life, ever. I mean, it was every room had dolls. There were 2 bedrooms, and she actually took out the closet doors and put shelves in there with dolls. I mean, it was just unreal. So my mother likes dolls, so I picked out a couple dolls for her, and I was like, that's it. But she wanted, I don't know, $6,000 or $7,000 for these dolls, and I was like, I can't do that. Number one, people are not buying dolls right now, so that's just not going to happen. That's like number two, I could not even begin to tell you how much these things are worth. So
hey, I got something. Let me show you something. Let me see if you can put some worth on this one.
All right, let's see it.
Back in 1985, there was this terrible moment where Coca-Cola decided they were going to put out new Coke.
Remember
that? It's bad.
Yep.
So I went out and bought me an 8-pack of these.
Yep.
And this is original Coke, and it's got the old silver cap.
Wow.
And I always tell people that you can always tell anything that's been post in what we call the new Coke era, even though they went back to classic Coke, they all came back with red caps.
Yep.
And this is a bottle of Coca-Cola that's old Coke. This is the true classic Coke.
Yep.
The original Coke.
And I have found bottles, and I have found even some with the caps, but no soda. So I've always wondered what a full bottle of original Coke, silver cap.
So
I mean, I've sold.
It depends on the collector too.
Well, it depends on the collector. I actually sold a 6-pack of Coke this week, and I want to say I maybe had $12 on the 6-pack.
But those were only glass bottles.
Yeah, and they were very old glass bottles, but they were that. So it really depends on the collector.
With the actual liquid in it and the cap still attached, I would say with that one bottle, probably maybe $65 to $75 for one bottle.
Yeah, I say I have no idea.
Because and
I'm just thinking of things that I've actually sold at the store. I mean, that are obviously not Coke, but I have a lot of medicinal bottles and things that still have Maricome. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Have bottles of that. And that could be $12 a bottle.
Yeah,
but
and we have
Coca-Cola though is
very
collectible. Very collectible.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a huge Coke collector as well, and it was one of those things where I've got Coke bottles from all over the world, but they're all empty. And maybe I'll find a cap.
I do have some Coke cans from Saudi Arabia.
Yes. So
I don't know where they are. But
so my dad, when he would go on deployments, he went to Saudi Arabia, he went to Afghanistan, he went to different places over in the Middle East for his deployments, and he'd come back, he'd bring us Coke cans because they
there was Coke in it.
The little tiny ones.
Oh, were they little ones?
The little ones. Yeah, he didn't get us the big ones. He'd bring us the little ones, and I forget if I think it was me, but we opened one.
We did open one
years later, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
But no, Coke is bad. It's bad after It's battery acid bad.
Yeah. Well, and every country has kind of their own little flavoring.
Yeah, well,
so,
and it's
you go to
the
one country,
consistency of it is the other thing too.
Yeah, well, the one country will taste like this, another country it tastes like that, and there's some countries that just like, I'll just take the water. Just give me anything else but that.
Right. So what are you currently working on now with your church and with your book? What are the next steps for you?
Well, right now I'm actually working and trying to get this book relaunched. 2020 blew it up, so it's totally about relaunching it, and that's why I'm doing these podcasts. You're actually the third one today for me. So,
fun.
Hey.
Yeah, it's just line them right up and let's go.
Hey, knock them out, right?
Yeah, but I'm looking at different ways to improve where I'm at, and what I really want to do. My next step is I think GenTech would actually make a good maybe a vlog, something on YouTube where we take classic generational technology and show it off. And I actually have a thought for a reality show that would go along with it as well. So I'm trying to figure out how to break into the History Channel and A&E and maybe some of those places like that would take something to be a GenTech type of show and just have some fun, where you go around the country and show off different types of technology. And basically for me, it's about telling the stories. That's what the book's about. The book is a story of America as told through the technology, which is what makes it fun. And I try to tell the stories that we forget, So, like the inventor of television was actually right here in Idaho, despite what Google and Wikipedia might say.
Yeah.
Interesting. Who was it?
Well, you don't know?
No, I don't.
You don't know?
I don't. I only know who Google and Wikipedia say.
Yeah. Well, you have to read my book.
All right. Fair enough.
I can't give up trade secrets now.
You're right.
I think that would be really, really fun. I know I enjoy, I know I saw a couple, I don't know, it was TikTok or one of the things where they take the kids and they give them a phone, like a normal phone, rotary phone.
That was YouTube.
And they're trying to figure out how to call. And for some reason, that cracks me up every time.
Yeah. What killed me is, so my dad likes to watch these videos of like kids listening to different music from different eras, like a kid listening to Metallica. Another thing that killed me is, so my wife, she teaches 7th grade, and some of the things they say, of course, 7th graders are 7th graders, but some of the things they say are crazy. This one girl, I guess, walked in one day and she said to Catherine, yeah, so I don't know, my favorite band, I don't know if you'd ever hear of them. They're kind of an indie band. They're called Nirvana. Like, oh yeah, no one's ever heard of them. Oh,
well,
goodness.
I do have to say that his generation, we had good music.
Oh yeah.
And they still play movies, whatever, they're playing our music.
Yeah.
What happened?
More or less.
The 90s.
The 90s had really great music. I would say the 2000s and 2010s had really good indie music, especially indie electronic, but that's just not something you're into, and that's not something it's so.
I don't know. I tell you, this is part of the GenTech as well, is that your technology is what you grew up with between the ages of 10 and 25, whatever was tipping between the ages of 10 and 25 for you. And it's the same thing with your music. Your favorite music is what played between your 10 and 25th birthday, and it doesn't have to be from your era. You can be listening to some other era. But whatever music you listen to between the ages of 10 and 25, that's your comfort music for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, and for me, with her and with my dad and everything and so on, I listen to all of those. I listen to Frank Sinatra. I listen to just tons and tons of different music.
I'm just saying, I think your generation kind of dropped the ball somewhere.
You could say that, and that's fine, but there is good music out today and then.
Mm-hmm. So you like
By the
Star
way,
Wars?
By the way, Aram, the inventor of television was Philo T. Farnsworth.
Huh, what a name.
Philo T. Farnsworth. He was a Mormon boy from
Really?
eastern Idaho, and he actually drew up the idea for electronic television when he was a kid. And he showed it to his teacher, and then had no idea what to do with it, so he stuck it back in his notebook. But he was an inventor. That's what he did all of his life, was invent things. And he eventually went off to down into, I think, University of Utah, Brigham Young, one of the Utah universities, and probably BYU, being Mormon,
Probably,
is where he went. And he just kept working, toying with this electronic television. Well, at the same time, NBC hired this big Russian guy named Zworykin to basically invent electronic television. And Zworykin was there. He was there as well, but there was a huge lawsuit because they tried to bring Philo in. Philo was being courted by NBC TV to come, and the other what is it? Was it Westinghouse? I think it was Westinghouse. They're trying to court him, but he wanted too much money, and he was not going to give up. They want him to give up his electronic television schemata, and he just said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. Not for any amount of money. I'll come work for you. I'll consult with you, but I'm not going to do that. And so they kicked him to the curb, and basically Sarnoff, who was head of NBC radio and television at the time, he never forgot that. And there was a big lawsuit, and in the end, Philo T. Farnsworth won the patent for electronic television. But Zworykin and Sarnoff of NBC television and radio, they basically crafted this whole other narrative that it was Zworykin who invented electronic television, and the rest is history. Philo T. Farnsworth literally fell off the map. They say in the 1960s he did one of those television game shows, Guess My Identity type of thing.
Oh yeah. No
one knew who he was.
Wow.
Because the narrative had changed, and Zworykin was the one who invented television. But Philo T. Farnsworth. And if you go out to eastern Idaho to this day, there's a huge museum dedicated to early television and Philo T. Farm Boy Farnsworth.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I did.
That's one of the stories in the book. Yeah, it's a great story.
It's amazing how changing, how much they changed the narrative, and things get lost and forgotten. Fall through the cracks.
If you had to pick, I'm sure all the stories in the book are your favorite, but if you had to pick a favorite story, which would it be?
Oh goodness, that is tough. I really like the space story.
Okay.
Because the space story, Robert Goddard was the one who invented the idea of fuel injected rockets. But Goddard's blueprint for these things kind of came up. Well, let's just say the Germans. He always blamed the Germans for stealing it during World War II, because they were developing these what they call Vengeance 2 rockets over there to carry as a weaponry, and the V2s. When Goddard saw the V2 schemata again, he went, "That's mine." And he always argued that the Germans stole it. Well, it's interesting that when we were going through at the end of World War II, kind of mopping things up over there, there was we found these V2 blueprints, and of course America being interested in rockets at least a little bit,
a little.
Yeah, we picked them all up, but at the same time we picked up all the German scientists with them. It was called Operation Paperclip. And we brought back, I want to say there were dozens of German scientists. And at the time, Americans didn't like that. It was well known that we're bringing these Germans back to our soil, and we put them on these military bases all around the country. And basically they sat on their duffs and did nothing for about 20 years until Russia put Sputnik up. And then we got all those Germans busy, and a guy by the name of Werner von Braun.
I've read about him.
Yeah, he was the one that he himself said, you can thank me. We all thank the Germans for getting us into space, those German scientists later.
Mhm.
But Werner von Braun, he said, nah, you can thank Robert Goddard because he was really the one who did it, which lends credence to what Goddard was saying, was that you guys took my idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But to be fair to Goddard, he didn't exactly have it under lock and key,
Well, yeah.
So
What do you think's going to be the next?
it's a great story about how the Germans steal it and we steal Germans back, and then we beat the. Oh, well, that's going to be interesting. I don't know if I can actually give a. I think it's going to be something to do with what I call the hair technology that we have rising right now. It's going to either be holographic, or it's going to be artificial intelligence, or it's going to be robotic. One of those three areas. I think one of the cool, two of the very cool new technologies that are on the edge is our clothes in the future will be smart. They'll be wired to the internet, and you won't even drop dead in the future before someone is already there tending to you. Because your clothes have communicated with first responders that we've got somebody down or going down.
Well, I saw my watch does that.
I saw advertisements for something, or not advertisements. It was a concept video for something like that in the 20-teens. I remember that there was a video of this gentleman. It was supposedly a concept video of this guy. He was in his 70s, but he looked like my age. He looked like he was in his 30s, and it was like, this is what we had, the vision we have.
You're not in your 30s.
This is the vision we have for the future. That you'll be able to take care of yourself to such a point that you'll look like this in your 70s. And this guy was. He was, like I said, he looked very young, and they were monitoring his bodily functions and fluids and so on and so forth through his clothing, and they were able to track.
Well, that's what my Apple Watch does, and my husband wanted me to get he got me this one because it specifically has a feature on there that if I fall down, it will call 911 for me.
Yeah. So, that's the technology.
Yeah.
Imagine your shirt having that technology, not your watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so from my perspective, what I've seen, at least from the tech industry, I think automation is the biggest thing right now, and I think the self-driving, especially long haul trucks, is going to be one of the next ones that's really going to revolutionize shipping, and it's going to. I think it, in theory, should decrease shipping costs, but I think they will try to increase them as they
I don't know if I want my shirt to be able to tell stuff about me. I think about it, I don't know, I might feel a little violated.
Yeah, that kind of scared me.
I kind of even with my watch, and I'm like, I don't know.
It's very 1984-ish kind of. It's like kind of very Big Brothery in my mind. Someone constantly monitoring. I mean, I guess that you see the health benefits or the benefits of being connected to someone who could help you at all times, but you're also connected to someone who could hurt you at all times too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think by 2035, possibly as early as 2030, we're going to see the end of the physical screen.
Yeah.
It's going to be holographic. The screen will be holographic in the future. It'll just pop up and it'll be there. Yeah.
I think they are kind of working on that, kind of like Tony Stark in Iron Man, where he just does the whole thing.
He just pulls it up. There's another.
I have heard that they are actually working on that.
There's another series. It's called Expanse on Amazon Prime, and it's a really, really interesting series. The concept is that humans, we colonized Mars, and then after we colonized Mars, we figured out that we couldn't use the ocean or any of the fresh water on the Earth anymore. So we sent people to live on the different meteors within the belt on the outskirts of our galaxy, and the people on the belt, they go and they get these big ice rocks and bring them back to Earth, and that's how we get water from in the future. It's a really interesting concept, but the technology that they model is kind of like that. Everyone has these little phones, is what they are, but they're all holographic. You can touch the actual glass, but you just put it up in front of you and touch it in front of you as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm still stuck on this shirt. Would I have to like plug it in?
Well, I think that's going to be one of the best innovations here, is that we're going to truly become wireless. And no, you won't have to plug it in. Everything will recharge just by proximity charging.
That would be nice.
Oh, if I could transfer all.
Do you find that people, like in our generation, are a little bit more hesitant to new technology, or do you think more embrace it? Because I find myself going, what else do I need? I mean, why do I want to learn, but yet another whatever?
Yeah.
Do you find that am I the only one? I might be the only one.
No, you're not the only one. There's probably an entire cadre of people out there like you, in that way. No, I meet all types. I mean, I've met some 70-year-olds that love everything new.
Yeah.
And I've met some 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
I've met 25-year-olds that are like Luddites. They don't even technology. Get out of here. I'll go live in a cave.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've met 25-year-olds that are like that as well. A lot of them are hipsters.
Usually I've got so many other projects going on that anything on and he gets kind of put out with me too, because they'll have to text me and say, Mom, I sent you an email. Could you go open the email and print this? But I'm like, you know what?
She takes pride in the fact that she can't be communicated with.
I'm like, you know what? I'm out in the wood shop and I am knee deep in paint stripper. So no, I'm not going in the house or to go open your email or what. Because most of the time I'm usually pretty dirty and down and dirty and sanding or doing something.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, I've actually got about 5 minutes here.
Yeah, I was going to say we are just about out of time here as well.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
It's been fun. Yeah.
I have. Yeah. I like your Star Wars picture.
You could leave us.
Yeah, this is my bathroom actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You got any marbles in there? I really love marbles.
I create a bathroom that I think fits me. Just has everything I need right here.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any parting notes for us? Anything to look
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom, things to look for in the book?
Just be real. It'll keep the robots busy.
It's true. And can you buy your book on where can they buy your book?
It's on Amazon.
Well, on Amazon.
You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at a lot of places. But I tell you what, if you buy it from me personally, you can get it autographed.
Here
we go.
Actually, the autograph is $20, but the book is free. So that's.
I like that. A regular Picasso.
Yeah, rickchromey.com, and if you order through me, I'll get it sent out right away. $20 gets the shipping plus the autograph, and Amazon's not going to beat that.
That's true.
That's a pretty good deal.
True.
That's true.
Very true.
Well, it has been an honor, a pleasure, and again, so glad to have you back on. Everyone, go out and buy GenTech by Dr. Rick Chromey, and we will see you again sometime.
Bye.
Bye. Stay hip
and humble.
Bye.